Hi folks, as you know, it's time for Chinaco to move on, so what I'm wanting to do is I want to get him comfortable for the rest of his life, standing hobbled, and not be worried about anything that's going on. And you've seen me saddle him several times with a pack saddle, so now we're going to add the panniers. And the reason for the hard panniers for me is so that the corners will be moving. In other words, rather than a canvas bag. And I'm setting him up to be able to haul a salt block in each side. And then the end result will be 2 salt blocks on each side. And when we've got 2 blocks on him and he's traveling comfortable, then he'll be ready for my weight. So this process will take a while, but just so we're all clear, it's the first time in my life I have the time to actually do it the way I want to. Meaning my choices before, which were my own choices, I was doing things too fast. Too fast meaning I was working on ranches and I didn't have the time to do, I didn't take the time to do what I'm doing now. So, knowing this is going to be a spade bed horse, I'm able to take my time and get this done correctly. And that's where we're at now. Now, his job is not to move his body. My job is to put him back if he does. Now, you already know it's right eye, left eye going on here for the rest of his life now. That's how this works. And his job is to get used to it. And there'll be a time when he's just going to be relaxed. Now, for those of you that want to learn how to read a horse, he's not relaxed. You can watch his tail, and you can watch his skull, and you'll see that's how tight the first one is. I really like these mule cinches because they give me the opportunity to get him good about a back cinch. And for those of you that are worried about what I'm doing, just watch this evolve. And if you're really curious, just check out the Paniolos, the old school boys. And then the Vaqueros down in Baja, I watch them. They have no hobble strap between their front and their back cinch, the Vaqueros. And that always kind of stuck with me. And they tighten their cinches according to what they're doing. They don't have a problem with sucking this down really tight on a horse down there when they're about ready to rope something really large and it runs really fast. So this is the premier. That's how much pressure's on it. If you ever tighten these cinches front, forget that one. If you ever tighten a cinch tight with a horse hobbled, you just cut your throat. You're going to teach him to fall over backwards. So, and this is that time thing I was talking about. This only takes minutes, but when you're working for an outfit, you just go. And it's kind of, I don't know what the word is, but it's funny to me that you get going on your horse to make a circle and gather and all that. And then when you get in the corrals, you tell yourself it's really time to slow down and get really good at not stressing the cattle. What about the cowboy? So, I've cinched him once. Now I've cinched him twice. I leave the tails hanging now because of training purposes. Now he's got to cross over behind just like a one-rein stop. And that's what'll get him good about all this stuff. Just watch that hind foot. And I watched this the other day with a friend of mine. When you're untracking a horse, here's what you don't do. You don't pull his head around. You walk in a circle so he can bend himself. If he doesn't move, then just bump. Get him moving. That's how far they got to cross over. Now I want you to notice how hard I'm pulling. Now what I'm noticing myself, because I share everything now, is that when I'm watching him cross over as I'm tracking him, in a couple years you're going to watch him crossing over with front and hind, going down an alley, putting cattle in a tub. So that's what I see when I watch him step across. I'm watching how deep he steps, and I'm going to have him stepping just like this down an alley sideways. Why? Because two reasons. One, it's good for him. And two, if you've got a 15-foot alley wide, it's just wide enough for a cow to fall into sin. So it takes two riders. Well, I prefer not having anybody with me. So if I can go sideways, I can jump my horse forward and back depending on the center. I'll show you this in a couple years or on another horse or something. So now he's in fact cinched. And remember, he's not going to be hauling any weight. He's just hauling salt box panniers. So just so you know, that's how tight it is. And that's how tight it is. I don't want this cinch to walk forward. That's why this is on here. Its job is to hold the cinch from going forward. That's what I want.
There.
Now a traditional saddle, most of you know, has a breeching and a full pack saddle type breast collar, or some of them it's just a canvas strap. Well, this is what I prefer because the strap going underneath to the front cinch is in fact holding this cinch in place. The hobble strap between them, you can't see it because it's up against the belly, and that's pulling everything that direction. The angle of the gut keeps the rear cinch back. And that's going to be my back cinch someday. And I just have done a lot of riding with this pack saddle in the hills, and I haven't had it walk forward. So it works for me. But now this horse is kind of settled. Now what I want you to watch is when I get ready to walk over here and put these box panniers on, it's something different. Okay? And just watch his attitude change. Oh, and by the way, I can't put these on with him hobbled or tied. If I did, I'd be committing suicide. I'd be ruining my good horse. So it's no different than putting a saddle on for the first time. You don't have them subdued. At the risk of... Now, the off panniard always has to go on first. So what I do is I've got my lead rope set, and I've got my panniard. And if he's going to go in a circle, I'm just going to go with him. So I lift it from the bottom, and I hang it on. Now all of you know that I rope all my colts, so if he hadn't been roped, I would never attempt this. Now, please understand that this colt has been roped, flagged, sacked out, and whatever I need to do to prepare him. So, right now he's worried. So if you want to learn to read a horse, just watch this horse's head. Now watch when I move him. This horse is one of those that he's afraid to move his feet. And I always have to go back to Joe Walters because he got on a colt at a colt starting deal. And the colt was frozen. It wouldn't move. So rather than thumping on it, Joe just got off and led it a few feet, let it know it could walk with the saddle on. Then he got back on and he was fine. And not to mention, Joe's got that pond water demeanor where he don't get excited. He's just fine. So that was a real lesson for me. Now what's going to happen is we're going to go down the trail, and this is going to happen. And what I've got set up here is this right here is going to actually touch the horse. Both corners. I could put a pack pad on that went way down here, but I'm not loaded, so I don't care. I want this to do this. Now what also, I'm going to run him into the junipers on purpose. He's going to hit a juniper tree with the corner of this paniard. And when he does, it's going to put pressure on him. And I'm going to be ponying him. So he's going to be moving. But see this? See how that tail's clamped down? If you want to learn to read horses, that's a horse that's bothered. Well, I got two choices. I can give him a treat, a bath, and turn him loose, or I can just pony him out across the brush and watch that tail relax. I prefer the second one. So anyway, he'll spend time hanging with these paniards on just to get used to it. And someday I'll put things on and he won't be bothered at all. And obviously when I put my riding saddle on, I'm already halfway there.
Do you want to apologize to Captain Obvious about the lack of the tongue sticking out anymore?
Yeah, I got to tell. Now, this is the part you got to be careful, because if he hits this pole, he's going to jump. All right, I'm tying this really short where he can get his head down, but he can't get a whole lot of room. Now, my friend Captain Obvious up in Sonora, I hate to tell you, but so far, Chinaco quit sticking his tongue out. So I wanted to get an 8x10 for you, but I didn't. He quit doing it before I could get the picture. So when he gets distraught, his go-to is always to stick his tongue out the side of his head, which was just so becoming. Anyway, that's how he's going to stand for a lot of time. And he's going to hit those panniers on those pipes. But I've roped him and he doesn't pull back, so he'll just hit the end of the rope and disengage. That's why you tie him where they go in a circle. So, and then I have to go back to my partner that said, why don't you just get on the SOB? And I have to laugh every time I think about that. Well, I don't get on because I don't have to. I get to do this, and it's been a long time coming. So I've got an opportunity here to make the best horse I've ever made, and I don't have to hurry. What a concept, huh? So that's the salt box panniards. And there was a man a long time ago that wanted to know, because I told him I cut the blue plastic barrels right here. That's what this is part of them blue barrels. It's 16 inches long from here to the bottom. And the panniard, of course, is as wide as 2 salt blocks. So if that helps on dimensions, that's it.
Plus the little piece of rope that goes in the middle of them.
There you go. Now you notice his feet aren't moving, okay? They're gonna move. The feet are going to move. It's just a matter of time, and I don't have to be here to witness it. So that's what he gets to do. Now, I wanted to tell you before I leave that there's some news I got to share with you. And the United States Forest Service in Colorado mentioned on the news that there's dead trees in the Rocky Mountains, dead pines by the beetle. So they had a horrendous fire this fall, and now they're logging it. So the word United States Forest Service and logging is the first time it's been heard in a positive way since a long time. So I'm really glad to hear that. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the United States Forest Service is the exact same office that runs California Forest Service. So my plea is for the Colorado man to call the California guy and tell him to get rid of all these dead trees that are standing, which causes these horrendous fires.
Apparently there's a time frame where they're still useful.
Yeah. They've been standing, a lot of them, for 20 years, and now they're starting to rot. But they're going to make 2x4s out of them, which the ones I saw on TV, that's about 2 per tree, looks like. But the other thing is the BLM. I don't know if they're following suit or what, but they went public and said that there's a cheatgrass problem in the West. So we're gaining, folks, and it has nothing to do with my voice, I'm sure, but I'm just telling you there's been 2 major breakthroughs in the government handling of the West. Now, the bad news on the BLM is their plan is to cut great big wide fire breaks out west. Now, I mean across BLM land, which those of you that traveled from Reno to Vegas know what BLM land looks like. So I don't know how many millions it'll cost them to make those fire breaks, but any farmer will tell you that as soon as you break the soil, the first thing that comes up is the weeds. So unless they're going to do it every year, it's going to get a little spendy. And I don't want to get cocky, but this entire thing can be solved with grazing. And you turn grass into meat on a cloven hoofed animal rather than cutting a fire break. So if anybody has ever been to the Wind Wolves Preserve in Bakersfield, you know that the reason it's called Wind Wolves, incidentally, which is kind of funny to me, is because they said it looks like the fur of a wolf walking across the prairie when the wind blows the grass and the grass is waving. Well, guess what? That grass is cheatgrass. So the name alone is not too impressive. So if we can get the grant writers over there to put more livestock in and let the ranchers help them, which they've got livestock, sheep and cattle, they can solve the cheatgrass problem in 5 years and they'll have the perennials back without a grant. Goodbye.